Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of The Suited Shootist. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about gear, specifically custom gear. And this was something that I personally struggled with for a while, is kind of at what point did it make sense for me to actually start investing in custom equipment. So that's what I'm going to dive into now. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. It can be a custom jacket, it can be a custom knife, like this G10 Maleficus, courtesy of Special Circumstances, or something a little bit more sophisticated, like this Crew Indian Jack, very nice little gentleman's folding knife. And this is a recent acquisition of mine. It's gorgeous. I'll throw some close-ups so you can really kind of appreciate the workmanship to it. But yeah, why custom? And it's not necessarily appropriate for everybody. And especially in the early stages, whether it is the early stages of your skill development as a civilian defender, whether it is in the early stages of your skill development sartorially, custom's probably not the way to go. Reason being is you're still trying to figure out your likes, your dislikes, and your needs, and it's expensive because it's custom, it's made for you. So there's a very good chance that if you are in the early stages of whatever the subject is, then custom probably is not appropriate. But let's get into why custom may be appropriate. When it comes to clothing, there's a few different reasons. One, you have a very challenging build to fit, and so there's not really anything available for you off the rack. And at that point, if you're having to get a ton of alteration done anyway, it's possible that custom just makes more sense financially. Then there is also just the uniqueness of it. This will tie in a little bit to the next thing that I want to touch on, but let's be honest. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of navy blazers, dark denim, black Oxfords out there. And if you're not going for something that fits you perfectly, sometimes you just want something that nobody else has. This jacket is a perfect example of that. This is something that I had made by my good friend Adam at Adam Ross Custom, and I got to piece together every little detail of it, the fabric, the cut, the lapels, the buttons, and the accents. This combination does not exist for anybody else, at least not that I'm aware of. Not to say that they couldn't, but this is exclusively mine, and so there's a sense of pride and ownership there. Now, there are the people that are going to buy custom simply because it's expensive, and I mean, if you're just looking to flex, okay, fine, that's your thing, but that really doesn't kind of come into play in terms of the intentionality of it, because if the only thing that you find appealing is that, well, it costs more than most people can spend, anybody that can spend that can have it, so who cares? When it comes to firearms, this is my Boresight Glock 19. And it took me a while to justify getting custom work done on a gun, because for the longest time, as kind of this exercise of self-flagellation, I was telling myself that I wasn't a good enough shooter to justify trying to buy a better gun. I needed to get better with the stock gun. And it actually took John Johnston telling me, it's like, dude, you're a good enough shooter that you need to start exploring gear that's built for you particularly, for me to kind of really open up to the idea. And that's the crux of what we're talking about here. When it comes to custom firearms and custom defensive tools, once you start really having ownership of the base skill set, you are going to start being aware of where your hand likes to be on the grip. You're going to be aware of the type of trigger press and how you want that trigger to feel. You are going to get a better sense of where you want that trigger finger placement to be. And all of these factors are going to start coming into play. And it's very much like an off-the-rack garment. Glock, Smith, HK, doesn't really matter. All the major manufacturers out there are putting out an off-the-rack solution. The idea being is out of the box, it is going to be as close a fit as it can be to the widest demographic. But it's never going to fit any individual perfectly, aside from just statistical outliers. So once you establish a base level of proficiency, then that is the time at which it's probably worth exploring what things are getting in your way. The argument that you always hear come up with this is, oh, well, you shouldn't be trying to buy skill. And that is true. However, to steal a line from, I believe it was Chuck Pressburg, mechanical advantage is mechanical advantage, and ergonomics are ergonomics. And so if you are already in tune enough with your performance and your needs that you can articulate, I wish that this did this for this reason, then that is when you really should start consider exploring the idea of at least customizable firearms. Now, the nice thing is a lot of the new handguns on the market are providing a degree of modularity to where something like a reprofile from Boresight isn't as essential as it is with something like a Gen 3 Glock, which is just out of the box is what it is. And unless you have some real good chops, reprofiling it can be a bit of a challenge. But don't be afraid to kind of listen to what your body's telling you. If there's something that you're struggling with, it may not necessarily be just repetition that's going to get you past the hump. And same thing with your sartorial game. If all you want to do is elevate your style a little bit, then hey, you know what? Absolutely going off the rack and just making sure that you find quality stuff that fits you well is perfect. But if you want to have just a little bit more panache, if you want something that really shows a certain degree of understanding, then there is absolutely value in custom gear outside of simply flexing the cost of entry. So let me know what your thoughts are on this. Is there something that you have in your equation, whether it be in your closet or your safe, that you decided that custom was the way to go? Are you resisting the idea of going custom for a reason aside from the cost? I want to hear all that down in the comments. Aside from that, hope everybody has a fantastic week. Stay dangerous, stay sharp.